NBC Chicago investigative reporter and a real aficionado of the Till story. Good evening, Marion. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for having me. This is very exciting, and I'm thrilled to be here.
This story is really been a large part of your life's work. If you would tell us a little bit about how this has become a big part of your career and your body of work, and what this story means to you.
Well, I counted among probably the most important story that I've worked on in my career thus far, and I've been honored to do, I believe, a lot of really important work. So it's right up at the top of the list of the work that I've done. The Emmett Till story is it is timeless, sadly, in the United States of America. We are still seeing parallels to the Emmett Till story today. And so one of the things that I think is so critical about being a journalist, being a storyteller, and I know you all feel the same way at Collaboraction as part of just your mission of being, is to inform and educate and be a truth teller. And the Emmett Till story, sadly, almost fell out of the public consciousness entirely. It did fall out of the public consciousness for 30 years. It was almost lost to us. And one of our former journalists at NBC5, Rich Samuels, back in 1985, is credited by the Till family with bringing Emmett Till's name back into the public consciousness. Not that Mamie Till hadn't continued to talk about him for years from the moment he was lynched, but the public was not kept aware. And so that was sort of the genesis when I rediscovered. There was a lot of rediscovery that happened with this story. I rediscovered Rich Samuel's work and went on from there to try to bring it to today's audience as well. Yeah,
you've kind of taken the torch and are keeping the campfire lit around this very important story. Your documentary, The Lost Story of Emmett Till, the Universal Child, recently premiered. It was just so powerful and just packed with important history. On a personal level, I just want to thank you for putting the work in and inspiring the folks over here at Collaboraction to keep up with you. We'll put that link in the chat because people really need to watch your documentary. It's really sharp, and you touch on so much in a short amount of time. Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Right here, my daughter right here next to me. This is what we do these days in the Zoom world.
That's right.
So anyway,
bring her on.
She's very shy. She will not. I would try, but she will not. She's now left the room. Okay. Well, one of the things that we did was we really wanted to tell the context of Emmett Till and sort of fill in the story, because I think the devil is always in the details, and the context is so critical. So some key things that we were able to showcase in the story. One is that one of the things that pops right away into my mind is that for 30 years, the story was lost. We explain how that could possibly happen. The other thing we talk about that I wanted to point out right away was how young Emmett Till is. You know, you hear 14-year-old, but he had just turned 14. He was a boy. He was a young boy. And I wanted to really pound that home. Another thing, the scope of what happened to him happened in a period of 6 months, from the time that he left Chicago till the time that the Look magazine article came out where the killers confessed to killing him. It all happened in a period of 6 months. And after that, his name started to fall away from public consciousness. Can you imagine George Floyd's story? After 6 months, nobody talking about George Floyd, but everything from his kidnapping to the trial, to the acquittal, to his mother going on tour talking about him, to the confession in January 56, 6-month period of time, and then started to fall away. So I just thought it was so critical to just bring some of these key contextual moments. And another big thing was that when Emmett wasn't supposed to go to Mississippi. He knew his cousin was going. He wanted to go. He begged to go. His family in Chicago didn't want him to go. They were worried that the very thing that would happen to him would happen. And they tried to prepare him for it. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people know, that his family didn't just send him down like a lot of folks do today when they got family in Mississippi. They were very, very hesitant about it. So that was a critical component. And he went down to Mississippi that was in the middle of it was the tension, the racial tension was boiling at that point. A year before, it had the Brown versus Board of Education decision. Lamar Smith, who had been an activist trying to register African Americans to vote, was shot on the steps of the Brookhaven courthouse the day that Emmett Till was begging to go down. The field secretary for the NAACP in Belzona, Mississippi, was shot about 3 weeks before Emmett Till was begging to go down. So all of this was happening right as Emmett Till was begging to go see family. So it was a hot bed of tension when he went down there. So these are all things that I think people need to understand the context of what the world was like as Emmett Till was making his way to Mississippi.
Well, and you do that, such a good job of that in the documentary, where you really zoom into the timeline and you really give us the context for what this barely 14-year-old Chicago boy was coming into. We had our first in-person rehearsal last night for Trial in the Delta. It was most of our first real in-person rehearsal in over 2 years. The cast and the crew, we know that we are working on something special, bigger than all of us, and we're really serving this part of the story. And we adapted the 354-page trial transcript that was hidden for a long time. Most people don't know that you're kind of the godmother of this project. You were the one that brought the transcript to us.
I did.
Tell everybody a little bit about how you got your hands on the transcript and how you hooked up with us.
So I think this is a great story as it relates to you guys, and it's a real testament to your creative prowess. So I got the transcript, I Googled it. I read an article and some of the research I was doing that the transcript was discovered after 50 years. The FBI managed to find the transcript, and it's out there. You could Google it and you could get it for yourself right now. So I printed it up, I read through it. I was like, I want to be able to use this. How can I, not just, putting the words on the screen, I wanted to be able to hear it. And I said, wouldn't it be great if we could find some actors to just do a table read and put it together, and then we could use clips of it for our documentary. So I talked to Leanne Trotter, our arts producer and reporter. And I said, do you have any, who would be a good theater group do you think that we could approach? And she thought immediately of you guys. I called you, Anthony, and I said, hey, I've got this transcript. What do you think about maybe doing a table read for us? You guys took the ball and ran. Next thing I know, you've adapted it into a stage play. And I can't wait to see what you've done. And you did a fantastic job. It cues very strictly, obviously you had to pare it down. There was a lot, if anybody has watched a real trial in person there, and the state's attorney Haidt can talk a little bit about this. There's a lot that goes in that you don't need to have in a dramatic setting. And for our purposes, we wanted some highlights for our documentary as well. So that's kind of how it came to be. And we hope to be using parts of your work in a part 2 that we are planning for the Emmett Till documentary series that we are doing. And I'm so thankful that you guys did take it on the way you did, because the trial is a part that people only really heard the verdict of. They only heard all white jury, not guilty. The jury took an hour to come to a decision. And that's really all that people know. But yeah, what you're going to showcase is really, the real drama, as most court cases have, the real drama that came through this, and it just sort of pounds home the injustice of what happened to Emmett Till.
And just the courage and the heroic display of commitment to truth and honesty that not only Mamie showed, but Mose Wright, Willie Reed, and Chester Miller, they all put their lives on the line that day. And, as we've been working on the play, a multiverse theme is very popular these days, and I can't help think, what would the world be like today if Mamie hadn't done what she did back then? And so when we got our hands on it, it just felt like, how has this not been done before? How is
It's amazing, isn't it? Because it was found, the transcript was found in 2005. So this is the first, so it's not like it was just yesterday. So this is the first time that people will get a chance to see. And I'll tell you, Mamie's decision the three critical decisions that we point out, that actually Christopher Benson, her co-author, pointed out to me: deciding to bring the body back from Mississippi. They wanted to bury it right then and there. Deciding to showcase his body by leaving an open casket and allowing so many people to see it and allowing him to be photographed. That image, there's no question that changed the trajectory of the civil rights movement and was a major catalyst. Rosa Parks talks about how she was inspired. So you're right. That is a great question. What would have happened if she had not taken those brave stances that she did?